I got a message from my sister on WhatsApp that instantly made my blood boil. I left your disabled daughter at your house. I panicked and rushed home, only to find my daughter alone outside, crying uncontrollably. That was the breaking point. I could no longer trust my sister with my kids. It was time to show her what family really meant. I'm Amanda, 43, with a passion for baking. Ever since I was a kid, I've been experimenting in the kitchen. While I'm usually pretty good, I still struggle with chiffon cakes. My kids like to tease me saying, "Mom, your chiffon cake is so dry." But they love my muffins. Their friends always say, "We wish you were our mom." My kids might smirk, but those moments make family life feel whole, or so I thought. But my sister Kathy had a different idea of what family was. It all started a few years ago during spring break when we were visiting my parents. We were sitting together watching TV when Kathy suddenly remarked, "There are so many kids with developmental disabilities these days. I wonder why." Her comment fell completely out of the blue. The show wasn't even talking about disabilities. Everyone turned to her, confused. "What's that about?" I asked. A colleague's child was diagnosed with a developmental disability, Kathy explained. Kids who are restless or struggle in school might fall into that category. Honestly, I think Sarah might have one too. Sarah is Kathy's daughter. As far as I could tell, she seemed perfectly fine. "Why would you say that?" I asked, keeping my calm. "Well, compared to Ken, she's not as bright. Her language skills are behind, and it's like she has a poor memory," Kathy went on. My husband Mike, my mom, and I exchanged uncomfortable looks. Nothing about Sarah seemed off, but Kathy was fixated. "You don't understand, Amanda," Kathy said, her voice edged with frustration. "I've been researching developmental disabilities. I know what I'm talking about." At the time, we figured Kathy would go see a doctor about it. But by the summer, her attitude changed. I was right. Sarah does have a developmental disability, Kathy proudly declared at another family gathering, as if she discovered some groundbreaking truth. "Did you take her to a doctor?" Mom asked, genuinely concerned. "No need for that. I have proof," Kathy said with a smug grin. "Proof?" Mom frowned. "Stop acting like she's a criminal." Kathy pressed on. "Sarah starts school next year and still can't write the alphabet. She's in kindergarten." "That's totally normal," I responded. "Even my daughter struggles with some letters." "Well, that's because your daughter takes after you," Kathy retorted with a condescending smile. Tim, her husband, added, "Maybe your daughter has a developmental disability too, like mother, like daughter." I felt my blood pressure rising but tried to hold my temper. Kids develop at their own pace. "No need to rush," I said firmly. But Kathy wouldn't stop. "Ken could write the alphabet years ago," she argued, comparing Sarah to her older, brilliant son. "Ken is 3 years older," I countered. "You can't compare them." Tim scoffed. "From a medical perspective, Sarah clearly has a developmental disability." I stared at him bewildered. "Medical perspective? Tim, you're not a doctor." Kathy and Tim seemed convinced that Sarah had a problem just because she didn't measure up to Ken's extraordinary standards. It wasn't just frustrating, it was heartbreaking. I had always prided myself on being well-educated, having graduated from a national university, but Tim, who failed his entrance exam and ended up in a private university by default, now ran a supermarket and constantly boasted about his intelligence, as if his siblings' achievements were his own. Later, Mike suggested, maybe Sarah should see a professional for an evaluation. "I've already consulted professionals," Kathy responded quickly. "Professionals?" Mike raised an eyebrow. "I've watched health programs on TV," Kathy replied matter-of-factly. "Their observations match Sarah's symptoms exactly, so it must be right." We all sighed in exasperation. Tim piped in, "Yes, those shows are very informative." A colleague of mine saw one, took their child to the doctor, and the diagnosis matched perfectly. Mom had finally had enough. TV is not a substitute for real medical advice. If you're truly worried, take Sarah to a doctor. "Stay out of our parenting," Kathy snapped. With that, she stormed off, dragging Tim and Ken with her, leaving Sarah behind. Mom sighed. If they're going to act so superior, the least they could do is take proper care of Sarah. Meanwhile, Sarah was happily playing with my daughter, though I noticed her smile flicker for a moment, replaced by a brief look of sadness. She must have realized her family had abandoned her. That broken smile shattered my heart. Sarah didn't deserve to carry the weight of our adult failures. I was more sure than ever that Sarah didn't have a developmental disability. She was simply a victim of neglect and favoritism. Later, Kathy and Tim returned home, in high spirits with shopping bags in hand. Mom's face darkened. "Do you often leave Sarah behind when you go out shopping?" Mom asked. "It's just leaving her at home. What's the problem?" Kathy shrugged, uninterested. "The problem is you never leave Ken behind. Why treat Sarah differently?" Mom pressed. "She doesn't listen, so we're teaching her discipline," Kathy claimed. "Discipline is one thing, but abandoning her is cruel," Mom replied. Tim jumped in defensively. "We give her good food and a good education. Why do you keep criticizing us?" "That's the bare minimum," I said sharply. "You act like you're doing her a favor." "This is a family matter. Stay out of it, Amanda," Tim snapped. "Sarah is my family too," I shot back. "And if she's being mistreated, I'm not staying silent." My words clearly struck a nerve. Kathy and Tim avoided making eye contact, but their silence said it all. "If you think Sarah has a developmental disability, leaving her alone is even more irresponsible," Mike added. "That's why we're teaching her to stay home alone," Kathy said, slamming her hand on the table in frustration. The argument dragged on for hours. Eventually, Kathy and Tim cut their visit short, leaving early. Their favoritism toward Ken was painfully clear. At mealtime, if Ken's favorite shrimp was served, Kathy and Tim would heap extra portions on his plate, even taking from Sarah's share. Sarah had always silently accepted the way things were, never questioning it. She quietly stayed in the background, enduring the treatment she received without protest. Ken was always the center of attention. Promises of new toys and outings were made for him, while Sarah was often forgotten. Family discussions were filled with praise for Ken's achievements, leaving Sarah to watch from the sidelines. It was hard to watch. One day, Kathy arrived with Sarah unexpectedly. "Can you watch her today?" she asked. Sarah seemed confused, quietly suggesting, "I could just go play in the park instead." We agreed to take care of her, though we were unsure about the sudden request. When Kathy returned later that evening, she seemed apologetic. "Thanks for looking after Sarah," she said. "Why the last-minute request?" I asked, surprised. "Oh, Ken had some friends over. Their mothers are doctors and lawyers. It would have been awkward with Sarah around," Kathy explained. I was taken aback. "You're ashamed of your own daughter?" "She just doesn't fit in with them. What can I do?" Kathy replied nonchalantly, brushing it off as a joke. "That's no excuse," I said firmly. "She's your daughter, disability or not. You should support her, not criticize her." Kathy's smile faded. "You've only raised one child." "Don't lecture me," she snapped, grabbing Sarah by the arm and leaving. This behavior became a frequent occurrence. Kathy and Tim would leave Sarah with us for extended periods while they took Ken on exciting trips. They would return late without offering any apologies, acting as though nothing had happened. It only fueled my determination to step in. Sarah deserved better. One day, my frustration boiled over, and I confronted them. "I told you to call before showing up, didn't I?" "Oh, don't be so picky," Kathy dismissed me. "We're just here to pick her up, aren't we?" "That's not the point," I retorted. "You can't just drop her off without any notice." "What's gotten into you? Always so cranky. Is it menopause?" Kathy mocked, causing Tim to laugh. I clenched my fists, enraged. "You need to rethink how you're raising your children." "We are, which is why Ken is involved in so many activities, unlike your daughter who doesn't do anything," Kathy replied. "We respect our daughter's wishes," I answered. "She didn't want to join those activities." "Well, we respect Ken's wishes too, don't we, Ken?" Kathy asked, turning to him. Ken gave a half-hearted nod, his forced smile betraying his discomfort. "See," Kathy said smugly, "even Ken agrees." I sighed, exhausted. "Fine, just take Sarah and go." Kathy grabbed Sarah's arm, dragging her to the car. Tim said nothing as he started the engine, and I was left feeling defeated. The next day, while I was shopping, I received a text from Kathy. "Hey Amanda, you love Sarah, right?" Confused, I replied, "Of course she's my niece." "Why?" "Great. Consider her your daughter now. I left her at your doorstep. Hurry, she might be crying alone." I froze, reading the message again in shock. I tried calling Kathy, but her phone was off. Panic set in. I dropped everything and rushed home. When I arrived, my heart broke. Sarah was sitting on the ground outside, crying uncontrollably, her small body shaking with sobs. Sarah, I rushed to her, pulling her into a tight hug. She clung to me, her tears soaking my shoulder. "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here." The truth was clear. Kathy had abandoned her. My calls to Kathy and Tim went unanswered. They had intentionally cut off contact. Through her sobs, Sarah whispered, "Auntie, I didn't want to be left like that." I held her close, my anger toward Kathy and Tim building. In that moment, I made a promise to Sarah. I would protect her, no matter what. A week later, my husband, mother-in-law, and I went to Kathy's house with legal papers to formalize Sarah's adoption. We were ready. Sarah was going to be our daughter. To our surprise, Kathy and Tim didn't put up much resistance. "Less of a burden for us," Kathy said dismissively, signing the papers. Her lack of remorse stung, but I held my tongue. All that mattered was Sarah's well-being. 3 months later, Kathy showed up at our door, demanding Sarah back. She's a genius. She won an art contest. Her paintings even displayed at the bank. We didn't even know she liked to draw. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "Of course, you didn't know. You never paid attention to her. I submitted her artwork myself. Her press school has been encouraging you to nurture her talents for years. But you ignored them." Kathy's face turned red with embarrassment. "Well, it doesn't matter. Just give her back." I shook my head. "It's not that simple. The adoption is final. Sarah is our daughter now. But if she wants to go back to you, I won't stop her." "She'll choose me," Kathy said smugly. I called Sarah into the room. When she saw Kathy, she hesitated before clinging to me. "Mama," she whispered, a name she had started calling me as well as Auntie. Kathy reached for her, but Ken stepped protectively in front of his mother. "Ken, what are you doing here? Don't you have lessons?" Kathy snapped. Ken's voice quivered as he replied, "I don't want to go to lessons anymore. I hate them. I hate everything you make me do." Kathy tried to scold him, but I stopped her. "Don't you see? Your children don't want the things you're forcing on them. You've been so focused on appearances and success that you've forgotten about their happiness." Kathy stood silently, stunned. "Just go home," I said firmly. "You've lost the right to call yourself their mother." In the years that followed, our family grew stronger. Sarah, Ken, and our daughter formed an unbreakable bond. Ken moved in with my mother, and Sarah thrived in our home, pursuing her passion for art. Though there were challenges along the way, every step was worth it. Our home, filled with love, laughter, and the joy of watching the kids grow into their own unique selves, was a place of peace. Kathy and Tim, on the other hand, became more isolated, burdened by the consequences of their selfishness. Our lives may not have been perfect, but they were filled with the one thing that truly mattered: family. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video, and stay amazed.